On August 8, 2009, FBI analyst turned whistleblower Sibel Edmonds finally testified under oath at the National Whistleblower Center in Washington, D.C. We had plans to record the deposition, but we were asked to step outside. Michael Cohn represented Sibel Edmonds in the National Whistleblower Center.
Our intent is to get as much information out as public as is possible. When you get a witness to be able to tell the truth is always good. And when the government stands in your way, that's bad.
All right. We'll hang out then.
I simply pointed that out. I think it's well within my rights as an American citizen to do so.
Bruce Fine was there to represent Gene Schmidt and Turkish interests. David Krikorian was represented by the offices of Mark Garagos. The deposition took over 6 hours, so we camped out and we waited.
Oh no, yeah. Let's put that there. So the light doesn't reflect.
And so has she not answered any particular questions?
Her answers have been thorough, and there's been very little that she's not been able to answer.
Is the Justice Department here, and have they objected to any particular questions?
The Justice Department has decided not to show, and therefore the deposition has gone on much more smoothly than we had otherwise anticipated.
Okay, so you're expecting to go back in right now and start again?
Yes, we are.
All right.
Thank you.
The deposition was finally over, and we were able to interview some of the participants.
And then they had all the episodes bugged within this current representative's home, and they've blackmailed her with regard.
Did she give her name?
She wouldn't give her name, but she said her photograph is on her website, Rogues Gallery.
It's not. That's the photograph that has a question mark.
Yeah, that's the question mark photograph. That's right.
Anyone else besides Dennis Hastert?
Oh, Livingston, Dick Gephardt, other non-congressional members, people like Brent Scowcroft, and other members of, appointed members, let's call them, of the U.S. government.
Okay. How did this strike you? Was this surprising to you?
I've been familiar with her case for several years, so, one of the reasons we sought her testimony is precisely for these reasons. I can tell you that counsel for Schmidt has been objecting to much of the testimony. I stopped counting the number of objections that were raised. But, she's an extremely credible witness. She knows a lot about what happened. She's implicated Turkish organizations operating in the United States with both overt and covert activities.
Which ones?
She's mentioned several of them, like the ATC, American Turkish Council, the ATAA, the TACO. She's talked about Jan Dickerson and her husband. She's talked about the fact that the Inspector General report exonerated her. She talked about how she was recruited to join these operations. She talked about the circumstances around her dismissal. She really had not too flattering things to say about former U.S. Speaker Dennis Hastert. Actually, I stopped taking notes because I was so fascinated by what she was saying. It doesn't pray. She talked about the Rand Corporation. She talked about Brewster Jennings, and she talked about nuclear secrets. She talked about, a lot of different things. frankly, it's disappointing. I mean, it's disappointing that these kinds of things are happening in the land of the home, the home of the brave and the land of the free. The land of the free and the home of the brave, rather. It's disappointing that these things happen. I mean, we know they happen. Is it a huge surprise? No. Should it be tolerated? Absolutely not. I can't for the life of me imagine George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison allowing this kind of stuff to go on in the republic that they created. I cannot imagine that. We're talking about high crimes against the United States government, and if the U.S. government is aware of these high crimes and doesn't prosecute them, I'm not sure what can be said about that.
And on their oath, talk about all the criminality that they have been covering up using the classification and state secrets privilege, and how certain activities have been against the national security and interest of the United States citizens, and some of them committed by U.S. persons who have betrayed them. And after all these years, it's kind of amazing that this event ended up being the opportunity to do that, and that I didn't even expect this, and I am under oath, and I am not breaking any laws. I'm not disclosing anything that I am not supposed to disclose, and yet I am able to talk about the kinds of information they use to retaliate against whistleblowers, to gag people, to issue state secrets privilege, or to use the excuse of classification, nothing that has to do with national security, but to cover up criminal activities, embarrassing information, and today that is happening.
I understand that you're talking about kind of a web of deception that's going around, led by the Turkish government in terms of trying to win over, coerce members of Congress and such with regards to all sorts of legislation, pro-Turkey legislation, including the Armenian genocide. This case is about that, references to blood money being taken and whatnot. What's your concept?
Correct. It's Turkish government, but also other entities and the layers of these operations and some of these covert operations. The way they are done is completely illegal. And I was able to discuss those in details. And that information, hopefully within the next couple of hours, I hope, will be available to the public, and the public will get a chance to decide for themselves and see what the government does to gag and quash necessary information like this and stamp it as classified. I think this may end up inflicting the best and the worst damage to arbitrarily, criminally done classification, and let's hope that it does.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, how is everyone doing? I'd like to state that we are glad that the testimony has finally come out. It's been many years in the making, that the Justice Department decided not to show up and interfere with the issuance of testimony is a credit to this administration. I don't think it would have happened in the prior administration.
Do you feel that she was allowed to answer all of the questions?
Yes, a great deal of information was released. I know that Ms. Edmonds feels a great burden has been pulled off her shoulders, and we're very proud that our nation was able to get to this level at this time. The National Whistleblower Center will review the testimony and try to get out as much as we can in a public manner, dissemination on our website, and to persons who have interest.
How about the stuff about nuclear trafficking? That's not the letter I was asking.
Yes, it came up, not in detail, but Mr. Grossman's name came up, and Brewster Jennings. I believe this is going to be for the first time under oath, on the record, people getting answer on Brewster Jennings and the real story, not the crap that they got from the media. And this was it's just, I feel relief, because not everything, but some really good chunk of what the government has been trying to cover up with the state secrets privilege and all this classification came out, and they are explosive. And as I said, I provided this testimony under oath, raising my right hand, and with my attorney sitting next to me on the record. And this was what I was fighting for all these years. So at least now some nice good chunk of it is out.